Let's open one of our boosters here. We got three left. Which one am I opening?
The middle.
The middle, right? Here you are. All right, so let's see what we got here. This is our third that we're opening. All right. So we're starting with Adorned Crocodile.
Okay, when this creature dies, create a zombie, renew, pay one, exile this card from your graveyard, put a counter on target creature, only as a sorcery.
So
Okay,
not
what are your
particular.
thoughts?
Well, always nice to create. First of all, right, it's a five mana cost, so it's not cheap. And then it says when it dies, you create a black zombie druid creature token. That's nice to have. Um, but it's still just as a sorcery, right? So it's not an instant or anything like that. So I would say it's not terrible, but there's probably better cards than this, right?
Yeah, and you actually in the past used the Infestation Sage, right? It's also
Yeah.
a common. When he dies, he creates a flying insect, and he only
hmm
costs two. Right? So if your idea is to create tokens by things dying, then you have better options, right? So this is not particularly attractive for anything I would do.
hmm Gotcha. All right. Well, it's good to have. All right. Sultai Devotee. Devotee. So a zombie snake druid with death touch. Okay, so it only costs two mana and it has death touch. So we automatically like, somehow, I would say. Plus, we can spend a colorless mana to add an additional mana. So this seems to be a really good common.
Well, it's a fixer, right? So you pay one colorless to create one color of the colors you need, right? Once each turn. It's like an elf, but rather than tapping, you pay into it. So it's a great blocker. It's in green with the death touch is wonderful, but this is a filter dork, right? This is a creature that doesn't create mana. It filters mana into the colors you need. So in that sense, it's good, uh, and it doesn't tap to do it. But it's an activated ability, and only
hmm
once each turn. So you can't combo with it, like you can't create infinite mana by creating infinite colorless mana. It's
Hmm.
good, but there are other creatures in green that you tap to create any color of mana. So it's good mana fixing, but it's not a mana generator. Because you pay one in, you get one out, right? So it doesn't get you more mana. It just gets you the colors you need.
Hmm. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Then we have the Ice Ridge Serpent. When this creature enters, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Well, that's nice, but it seems expensive for what you can do with that. 3/3 looks cool though. It's good art. I like the art.
Yeah, the art is great. This effect to bounce a creature back to someone's hand, you can get it for cheaper. And if you have it on a creature, you can get it as a flash creature too. So you can do it when someone is about to attack you with their 21 power commander, right? So you have better options for this effect. They're for cheaper and more versatile. So
Mm.
yeah,
But not bad to have if you need this effect and you don't have anything else.
yeah.
Okay, Salt Road Pack Beast. This spell costs one less to cast for each creature you control. When this creature enters, draw a card. Well, it's expensive for that, right? It's a five colorless and one white. Um, but
Which you can conditionally reduce. Yeah.
which you can conditionally reduce. So not a bad card actually, because you get to draw a card when you put it in, and you can potentially play it for free.
You can potentially pay for one white. It does not reduce the color, only the colorless.
Ah,
It says
okay.
one colorless less to cast. So if you have five creatures already in play, then this is one white to have a 4/3 and draw a card. So if you are in a deck that creates either a bunch of tokens or plays only creatures, then this is your card draw in white. It's good in the right deck, or it
Hmm.
can be at the very least useful. Like having a 4/3 for one mana is not bad. and it replaces itself in your hand. So yeah, it's a decent comment, and yeah.
Very cool. All right, decent common. We'll go with it. Next is Narset's Rebuke, which is an instant. So we like instants, but it costs 5. Narset's Rebuke deals 5 damage to target creature. Add blue, red, and white mana. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Okay. Narset deals 5 damage to target creature. Well, 5 is pretty good. And it's an instant, so I could play it on somebody else's turn.
Yeah, and it refunds 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you pay 5 and then it refunds 3. If you're in a deck that wants to cast instant spells, like on someone else's turn, then you can essentially get a 2-for-1, right? Because this refunds you 3 colored mana, so you can cast an instant with that mana afterwards. And also it says if that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So you don't necessarily have to kill it with the 5 damage. You can kill it with
Mm.
something else later, right? With that other spell that you're going to cast. But if
So
it would
it's
die this turn, then you exile it. So yeah, I mean it may seem like a lot, like 5 for 5 is okay, but it's actually 5 for 2, right? Because you get mana refunded.
mm,
So it can be useful in those decks, but usually burn spells, like especially things that only to one target creature. So it's not to a player, not to a planeswalker. It's only to creatures that it deals that damage. It's a little bit limited, but it can have nice synergies.
yeah, I agree. So it's kind of like on the Salt Road Pack Beast level somehow, huh?
Yeah, if you have the right synergies, it's gonna do quite. It's gonna do well. It's
Gotcha.
not gonna be like the thing that you always want in your hand, but if you have it in your hand and you have the synergy online, then it's gonna be great.
Cool. All right, well, I love this art. The
Hmm.
reputable merchant, human citizen. When this creature enters or dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So it's expensive. 6, right?
No, wait, it's either. So this is a split cost. You may have
Oh,
seen this,
okay.
that it's either or. So you can either pay 6 colorless, or 1 white, 1 black, one green, or 2 colorless and 1 black, 1 green, or 4 colorless and 1 green.
Mm,
You can combine these, right? So at most it costs you 6. At
mm,
least it costs you 3, right?
mm,
A 3 for a 2/2 is not usually great, but this thing has a trigger that when it enters and when it dies. So essentially, you can get 4 power out of your 3 mana, right? Because
huh,
you put 1 counter when it enters and then 1 counter when it dies. If you have a way to sacrifice it, it is still expensive for that kind of effect, but it does have a double trigger, enter and dying. So
cool.
if there are cards that allow you to have double entering play or double leave play effects, and so it can get better. But it is a weird cost, and it could be a dead card in your hand if you don't have the colors or you don't have sufficient mana. And for 2/2, I think you can do better, but it's an interesting thing because it can have multiple synergies, right?
Mm, yeah,
But it is you need to have a deck that has all 3 colors appropriate for
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll put that over here. Then we have the Embermouth Sentinel. It's an artifact creature chimera. Costs 2 colorless. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. If you control a dragon, put that card onto the battlefield tapped instead. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, it's essentially it's like in colorless, it finds a basic land to put on top. If you're in a dragon deck, then it puts it on the battlefield. So this is a 2/1 creature for 2 that has an upside.
Yeah.
Um, is it my first choice to look for lands? No, but it is a choice that you can put in any color of deck. So even in a deck that doesn't usually find lands, this finds you a land and puts it on top. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how
That's
often wouldn't you have, if you played your land that produces colorless mana and then you play a Soul Ring, you have nothing to do with it because you need colors. This thing
correct.
finds you colors for next turn, right? So
Yeah. No, that's
it's
good.
you can find this effect in different card styles, but this is worthwhile considering at the very least when you don't have much of a collection because it is colorless. You can put this in any deck that needs to find basic lands, and that's the good part.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I like this, especially if you're going to have a dragon deck because it puts that additional thing on there. All right, well, I'll leave that here. Then we have the Rainveil Rejuvenator. Elephant Druid. Well, Elephant Druid, that's nice, right? When this creature enters, you may mill 3 cards, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. And if you tap it, you can add an amount of forest equal to this creature's power. So, would seem to be an interesting synergy if you can put like extra tokens on this, like +1/+1s, because you
At the
can,
very least, it gives you two, right? So
right,
because he's a 2 power, so you can tap him for 2 green
right.
the turn after he comes in. And it also synergizes with a deck that wants to have things in the graveyard, like your Sultai Arisen, because he enters and you put 3 cards into your graveyard.
Yeah,
So it's a 2/4, which is a good blocker. 2/4 for 4 that in the turn after it enters gives you mana, and it synergizes with graveyards. So not bad for an uncommon. I hadn't seen this before. I like
yeah.
it.
Not that Sultai Arisen needs any more powerful cards in it, but yeah, that
Well, it
works.
doesn't need them, but it's nice to have, right?
That's
So
true. All right. Okay, so now let's move on. We have the Yathan Tomb Guard, Human Warrior, Menace. Can be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. Whenever a creature you control with a counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So it costs 3, gives us 2, but it's got Menace. I mean, based on what you've so far told me, it's like there's probably better cards for this, but it's playable.
yeah, we looked at the last time we opened, there was one in there as well, right? So it's a way to draw a card, right? Because whenever a creature you control, so if you have 3 creatures with counters on them and they all deal damage to a player, you get to draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. It's a
Mm,
way to draw cards. Are there better? Yes, but I still like it, right? I liked it last time. I still like it this time as well.
gotcha.
It's a way to draw cards based off other synergies.
I can't believe that you actually remember all the cards we drew the last time and stuff. That's like I'm flabbergasted here. All right, we have a land.
Years of practice.
Yeah. We have a land. I'm not sure if I want to try to pronounce this. Frontier Bivouac.
Sure. I don't know how
Bivouac.
to pronounce it either.
Looks French. This land enters tapped, add green, blue, or red mana. So that's not bad. It's like, you basically get 3 of those 5 colors. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's this is called a tri-land because it provides you one of 3 colors. These are the teamer colors. So it's a way to get the colors you need. But the bad side is that you cannot find this in your deck for with just any land tutor because it says land, not land, forest, whatever. No, it's just a land. So it's not a basic land or anything. And it also enters tapped, which is the bad part about it. But I still use these lands. There's a cycle for of 5 or 10 that all are for a clan, right? So for 3 colors. So this is good to have in your collection when you don't have access to the lands that enter untapped. But it's a tri-land, so it gives you one of the colors you need. Yeah, it goes into a teamer deck, into like the teamer roar. If it doesn't, I think it actually has that in there already.
could be,
But
yeah.
it's good to have, right? So because it does fix your colors. It gives you one of the colors you need in the deck. So good.
Cool. Yeah, I'll put it over here. Okay, next we have the Sun Pearl Kirin. It's a creature Kirin with flash flying, and when this creature enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If it was a token, draw a card. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean,
here's what. So the thing here is that it target non-land permanent you control,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's not. This is not an offensive thing. You don't return something someone else has. You return something of yours to your hand, right? So why would you want to do that? Is the question, right? If you have something that enters the battlefield and then does something, then and you want to repeat that effect, then you want to return it to your hand so you can play it again. Since it has flash, for example, that guy, yeah. Like if you have this guy in play, but you want another 3 cards in your graveyard, then since it has flash on someone else's end step, you play this, return the elephant to your hand, or that guy. Yeah, sure. But then remember it returns to your hand, you have to pay the costs again, right?
Hmm.
So, but there are cards that you might want to play multiple times. So this is a self bounce. It returns something to your hand. And also it is non-land. So you can return artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers, or creatures to your hand, right? So if you want the effect again. So
Also,
yeah.
also it's a flash situation, so I could imagine a situation where, because flash means it's like an instant, basically, I can do it at any time too, right?
Yeah, you can save your commander from the destruction spell.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm basically saying. So if you have a situation, your construction spell, like better to put it in my hand than to put it back in the command zone, right?
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
You're
Okay.
starting to see. Very good.
Yes. All right, and then we're now in the rares. This is the Sibzig ceremony. I wonder if it has anything to do with 70.
So I don't think so.
That would be the German Siebzig with a Z. But anyway, legendary enchantment. Creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. All right. Whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, destroy that creature, then create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Okay. Um, okay, interesting.
It is interesting. This is a difficult card to evaluate. It also doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you right now, I imagine.
No, no, let's see if I can do this. So first of all, to just have creature spells cost 2 less, two colorless mana less to cast, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
And says whenever a creature you control enters, right? If you cast it, destroy that creature. So basically, what I'm saying, what this is telling me is that I would want to use this in. So what it's telling me is that any creature I would cast would basically get destroyed, and then I would create a black zombie druid creature token instead, which means I'm playing Commander or whatever I'm playing. I'm playing Commander. I'm limited to the amount of to the kinds of cards I can have. So if I have a Commander or synergies that basically heavily favor zombies, this is something I want in that deck because basically it doesn't matter what other creatures I have. Every creature I cast eventually becomes a zombie. And additionally, it says I destroy it, which means what? It goes into my graveyard, right?
Yes.
Right. So if I have something that heavily relies on stuff being in the graveyard, again, this is a cool thing because basically anything I can cast for 2 colorless mana less. Whenever I cast it, it goes straight to the thing, and I have a bunch of tokens, which is also cool if you have other spells that go and benefit tokens, or if I'm playing against somebody who somehow doesn't affect tokens or something like that. So, right? Do I got it?
You have the right ideas in there. There's a couple. So first off, you want to play cheaper creatures. You don't want the creatures you play to be super impactful because they're gonna get destroyed, right?
Hmm.
And so your game plan is zombies. Yes, you're absolutely right. And if you can make it work to be zombie tokens, that's your overall strategy, then this is a key piece to your strategy.
Hmm.
The other important part that you may have glossed over a little bit is it says if it when it enters, if you cast it, right? So if you cast something from your hand, it gets destroyed, and then you create the zombie. If you reanimate your big creature afterwards, after it gets destroyed, then it doesn't get destroyed because you didn't cast it, you reanimated it.
Whoa,
So,
say that again. I totally missed. You lost me. Try it again. That sounds
right,
really
there
cool.
are there are spells where you return a creature from your graveyard to play, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so these are called reanimation spells. So if you reanimate something from your graveyard, this effect will not trigger because you're not casting the creature, you're casting the reanimate effect. So you can yeah. Just to say that you have to cast the creature from your hand in order to have the Sipsig ceremony trigger to destroy it when it enters.
Mm.
Uh, so there are synergies that you haven't been able to see yet, but they are there, right? That you can reanimate stuff later. There's another thing here is that if you give all your creatures indestructible, then this effect will trigger but fail to destroy, but you still create the zombie,
Okay.
right? So let's say you have you have yeah, you'll see that eventually that if you have a way to give all your stuff indestructible, and then you as a passive effect, which there are, then you cast a creature spell, you target it to be destroyed, but it's indestructible. But this is not hinged on it being destroyed. It just says then, right? So destroy that creature, comma, then create a zombie. A zombie. It doesn't say if this creature is destroyed that way. So there are ways around it that you don't have to destroy your things. It's a very interesting card. I don't have it in my collection, but I've looked at it and I'm like, it's a very specific deck that wants this with different strategies. But you're right that you want zombie tokens and zombie focused deck in order to make this work. Uh, but it is there. It's a cool pull. I really like it. I don't know where I would put it, but you want to put it somewhere. Most likely a mono black deck because this thing has a 3 black mana casting cost. So you don't want it's going to be difficult to cast it in decks that have multiple colors.
Hmm.
But it's a very interesting one. I don't know how to make it work. I haven't really looked it up, but I've looked at it. And it's like there's just so many things floating around. I just don't know how to make it work in any of my
Gotcha.
decks quite now. But it's a very cool card. I mean, I would love to have it in my collection to see how and when I can make it work.
Hmm.
It's cool.
Okay.
I really
Very
like
cool.
it.
Yeah, it's like interesting. It's like an interesting one. Okay, and then we have our I think this is this says it's a common again, so that's kind of weird how I go back to
Yeah,
commons.
it's the foil card. Every pack has a foil card in it. There's a foil comment. It's like
Okay.
shiny.
Yeah, yeah. I know what a gotcha. So aggressive negotiations. I definitely have this card several times. Target
Yeah,
opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature you control. Yeah, not bad. It's a shame it's a sorcery. It'd be cool if it were an instant, but you know, if I have it, I'll use it. Sure, why not?
yeah. If it was an instant, this would be a very interesting card to play. But as a sorcery, I think there's better options to look at people's hands.
Gotcha. All right, and I think we're going to the last card, which is a land. It's a Blossoming Sands, which I believe I have at least one of. This land enters tapped. When this land enters, you gain one life and add, when you tap it, you add a green or a white.
Yep.
Yeah, not bad. Same thing with the land that we had before, where it's not a basic land, it's nothing you can't really search for it. So, but that's okay.
But it gains you a life when it enters. But it
This
enters
is true.
tapped. So the upside downside, it's a land that produces one of two colors. So it fixes you in case you don't find the basic lands or the untapped lands that you need. So
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, and then for our token creature, we have a spirit or a spirit. You can either have a spirit or a spirit. You just decide which one you like
yeah,
better.
the spirits are different. This is a 3/3 spirit, and
Oh, I
the
see
other one
what
is
you
a
mean.
star
Yeah.
star spirit, right? So it'll different tokens in a sense, like because there's spirits with flying, spirits with 1/1. There's different types of spirits, and usually the card that creates the token will tell you what type of token it is, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Oh,
Sipsig ceremony is definitely. I mean, I don't know if it's worth anything, but black enchantments are strange sometimes. I have one. What's it called? I forget the name of it, but all your creatures cost one less, but all your creatures get -1/-1.
hmm. So basically, I'm looking at the ones that were interesting or best this time. We have the Sipsig ceremony for interest, the Sun Pearl Kirin. Then we have the Yathan Tomb Guard, the Frontier Bivouac, and the Rainveil Rejuvenator.
Yeah,
Those are like the top cards, I would think, right?
yeah. The one I like the most is the ceremony, but I think the one that I would probably find a place for is the rejuvenator.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
like
makes
playing with graveyards and I like playing green. So that's sort of like it's in my wheelhouse.
yeah.
It does two. I mean, for four, you get a creature that gives you 2 mana at least. If you're playing something that adds counters, then you can make this grow and have this. Um, there's another card, not in this set, but it's called Kami of Whispered Hopes.
Hmm.
It taps to add green equal to, sorry, it taps to add mana of any color equal to its power. And it has a passive that says if you were to add 1/1 counter to a creature, then you would add an extra one. So it doesn't add the counters by itself, but it synergizes, right? And these would go into more probably the same deck because, they both give mana equal to their power. So, but to put the Rejuvenator in there, I also want something that probably interacts with the graveyard in some way. So it's similar, but different, but they could probably coexist in the same deck. Yeah, creatures that provide mana are never a bad thing to have, right? Even if you later find something that is maybe more cost efficient or whatever, then it's still a good card to have. I usually put my cards that produce mana or ramp mana into a separate pile from everything else because they will usually find a home.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, I tell you what, like let's conclude this one here, but that was a nice one. Nice one to look
Yeah,
at.
it was.